Welcome back to another episode of Investing Explained. Here's today's question. When we talk about real estate prices, generally lower interest rate makes prices of real estate go up, while higher interest rates make real estate prices go down. The reason is simply that as a homeowner, you have a finite amount of money, and if your installment go up because of a higher interest rate, your house price must go down. And the latter is true even if you personally fix your installment, because the influx of new buyers with new terms will then lower the overall demand. The interest rate is used to control inflation in society, though as Colin Roach mentioned here in the episode, it's not a perfect tool to do so, but it is due to the same principle of supply and demand. If we want to lower inflation, we can hike the interest rate because it decreases the money supply in society, which leads to falling prices and vice versa. So when you ask me whether I think real estate prices will go down in the next 12 months, I think yes, we'll see a modest drop. I'm not as familiar with the UK as I am with the US. I would imagine it would be a similar thing in the UK, but it won't be so much because of the interest rate. Actually, if we look at the interest rate right now, which is very hard to predict, but I don't see that be hiked the next, say, 12 months because of the weak economy, both in the UK and the US. But I see lower prices because of COVID-19. You have a lot of people who are struggling to make payments on the homes, and some of them are either going to foreclosure or going on sale. And this process just takes a long time to play out because most people typically want to make sure that they're not losing their home. And even if their home is eventually put on sale, they typically have a higher reservation price that they will slowly lower, which also contributes to why it takes such a long time for this scenario. And then the other thing that you also have to include into this is that when we're talking about the prices of assets like this, they're always complex whenever you consider how many factors influences demand and supply. Therefore, the response, whenever we talk about the impact of inflation, fiscal stimuli, interest rate, is really an everything else equal perspective. There are many different factors. So just one could be that this is an election year in the US, and because there's so much political capital invested into fiscal stimulus because of COVID-19, that's just another element you have to account for.
Just to kind of add on to what Stig said, I think it's important to realize that real estate is very local. You can go into different cities, different regions, and real estate prices can act in very different ways. It depends on how much land remains for the amount of buildings that are being constructed. It depends on how much industries flowing into and out of a specific region. There is just a ton of factors that go into this. I would argue that if you have a population that's pretty steady, you have an amount of land that's fairly steady as far as the supply and demand of it, and you have this geopolitical factor around that community that's somewhat stable as far as the economics around that area are stable, I think you can use the generalization that when interest rates go down, the prices will go up and vice versa. As you can see, there's a lot of factors and a lot of variables that go into this. So I think the most dangerous thing that a person can do is sometimes to simplify it too much and to say, oh, well, because of this one thing, because of X happening, Y is going to be the outcome. I think that you really got to reserve against that. So Stig's comment about the COVID-19 impacts and a lot of people being out of their jobs and particular industries being impacted heavily by COVID-19, those are going to impact the real estate market. So I think it's a really great question. It's something that depends a lot on the region that you're specifically talking about and all the factors that are at play at that point in time.
That's it. Preston and I will continue explaining investing, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button.